Sam, quick, dogs or cats?
See, I used to be cats, but I'm kind of in the middle. I like them both.
Cat dog from
Cat
Nickelodeon.
dog, yeah, I like cat. I've got cat dog socks. Yeah, cat dog.
There you go. Alone in the world as a little cat dog. If you're a cat dog or cat dog, let us know in the comments below. But
apologies if you can hear whatever the hell's going on upstairs. It does sound
Is it
like
a cat dog?
It sounds like they're line dancing, but yeah. Hopefully that doesn't continue through the video.
I hope you go and join them afterwards. That'd be nice. Here's some wrestling and or line dancing news. WWE is in talks with New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's backstage heat on Jim Ross at AEW. And is Brock Lesnar returning soon? We'll talk about that in a bit. Kicking off with this from the Wrestling Observer, just dropped a few short minutes ago at time of recording. WWE getting into some conversations with New Japan Pro Wrestling. What's the story here, Sam?
That's the story in my
Good
head.
answer. Moving on.
Right, okay, so yeah, Nick Khan has been in talks with New Japan Pro Wrestling, apparently, about WWE being the exclusive American partner with the promotion. It would include WWE sending talent and WWE top stars being allowed to work for New Japan if talks go anywhere with Khan. The former isolationist attitude of WWE versus everybody is changing with the idea WWE is part of the wrestling landscape and not separate from the pro wrestling landscape. Obviously, it's also to keep New Japan, which pre-pandemic was third strongest company in the world, away from working with other companies which could strengthen the opposition against WWE, of course.
This is what WWE are looking to do, really, in becoming part of the wrestling landscape, is they're essentially boarding up the forbidden door, is what they're hoping to do, and open their own forbidden door
it's
right
like,
next to it.
Yeah, they've kind of just destroyed. They're planning on like blowing up one bridge and erecting a new one that's like an exclusive toll booth.
Now, I'm not against the idea of WWE, very much like AEW, mixing it up in the landscape of wrestling. I think wrestling is more fun when you have multiple promotions all working together, like New Japan and WWE. Whilst they are very much worlds apart, there is something tantalizing about the idea of seeing some of WWE's top sports entertainers mixing it up with some of New Japan's top wrestlers. But I can't help but feel, Sam, that this is something that is coming as a result of some of the great work that New Japan and AEW have been doing as of late.
Look, I mean, they are at war. Like, as much as they don't want to say that they're at war, or, you know, as much as it's not quite, you know, as heated as it was in the 90s, they have a rival. They've got somebody that's doing what they do along, like, parallel on another major channel, and, you know, they've got to deal with that, and they've got to combat it however they can. Now, if WWE managed to secure a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, this would be huge. It's not quite as huge, I'd argue, as maybe a few years ago, but, you know, it's still massive, and the wealth of talent and the different styles of wrestling. I mean, for the way New Japan have been kind of talking recently as well, they've been quite open about the fact that, you know, they want to work with other companies. They feel wrestling is about the stars, not so much the promotions. And it could work. It could work. It would be favorable for, you know, the Japanese audience getting to see people from the WWE side of things and vice versa. But I mean, I'm just shocked that this is even on the table. It's been like WWE has been wrestling's North Korea kind of for quite some time in terms of just being completely separate and just fine with being separate and removed. They did that themselves. They put themselves in that corner, and it was deliberately to distance themselves from the wrestling industry and the wider industry as the market leader. But this is potentially huge.
Do you think maybe the Jushin Liger going into the Hall of Fame may have been part of these early feeling out period? I
think it's probably more in line with, well, they're going to work with other people if they don't work with us, so let's come up with a deal. I think that's where it's all stemming from.
That's kind of what it feels like.
I'm a very cynical person,
brain.
But you know,
yeah, I'm sort of racking my brain in terms of matches I'd love to see between the two.
Just stick anything anywhere. I just want to see people beat each other up from different promotions again. That's all I want to see.
Orton Okada?
Yeah.
We've never seen that before, have we?
Why not? Yeah. Roman, just throw everybody in there. Get Undertaker back. against some of the New Japan dads. WWE dads versus New Japan dads.
Oh, yes.
Nakamura leading Chaos again.
Oh, Balor. Get Balor.
Bullet Club. Oh, yeah. If they worked with New Japan, they would have Bullet Club. They'd have actual Bullet Club.
Actual
you could involve
Bullet Club.
AJ. They'd have the right to the name, like to work and co-book, I guess, on the American side of things.
Tantalizing stuff. Still very much in the planning stages. Nick Khan very keen to continue these conversations. So when we know more, you'll know more straight away, either by looking at Cultaholic.com or Sam Driver's pad.
Just look at my yeah.
Either or. We'll stick with New Japan for this. The IWGP World Heavyweight Championship plans have been revealed. So Ospreay vacated the title following injury. What's going on here? Well, I'll tell you. According to The Observer, they were told the title would be decided with Okada, who was scheduled for the next shot against Ospreay, and someone else. Now, presumably, according to Dave, that other person would be either Shingo Takagi or Kota Ibushi, and the likely destination would be the Dominion show at Osaka-jo Hall on the 6th of June. None of this is official, plus Osaka has been hit by COVID, and with only 5% of the country vaccinated, things look to be hard hit for a while. So we may not get this happening around the 6th of June.
I don't know if this happened after the newsletter was, this part of the newsletter was written, but they've gone back down into like another emergency standing over there. So they're locking down more areas again for longer. So it could lead to more delays on the New Japan side. But I mean, my heart wants Shingo so bad with that belt, but I think it's going to end up on Kota.
You think default back to Kota? Yeah. Give him another bit. Give him a bit. I think I like to have seen him longer with the belt anyway.
Yeah.
See what more he could do with it. I kind of felt like we didn't get enough time with Kota Ibushi as champion. So happy to see him doing more. That would be a lovely time.
Shingo though. Shingo. I like Shingo.
But Shingo versus Keith Lee.
Just Shingo versus anybody. Just
Shingo
let them all go.
people.
Just throw them all in a room and go, right, who do you want to work with? Done.
Put all the New Japan guys in the room and then send Orton in with Splinter Cell goggles.
Look, 4 rings, right? 4 rings in a big square with all of the central ropes taken out so that it's literally a 40-foot square ring. And you just throw them all in, right? And it'd be amazing.
This sounds like a Fire Pro match.
The real greatest Royal Rumble.
Pro wrestling. That ring is huge on Fire Pro Wrestling. The ultimate greatest Royal Rumble from New Japan is what Sam is suggesting there. Let's move over to AEW. Let's just walk through the forbidden door, and whilst we still can. AEW apparently unhappy with Jim Ross's recent comments. So JR has got a little bit of heat as poor red ass following his comments that Randy Orton was the best wrestler in the world. A lot of people went, yeah, but Kenny Omega though, why not? A lot of AEW people, according to The Observer, unhappy that Jim Ross said a wrestler not from the company was the best, let alone from WWE. JR has addressed this controversy on Grilling JR. What did JR say on the podcast with Conrad? So, Sam?
JR said, we have a little controversy going about who I apparently said that I thought Randy Orton... Oh, what? We have a little controversy going about who I apparently said that I thought Randy Orton was the best wrestler in the world. People forget that I recruited these guys. I've had a business association with a guy like Randy Orton since day one. Apparently people thought I was besmirching Kenny Omega. Nothing could be further from the truth. I really don't understand what the inflammation is regarding this topic that's so subjective. Anyone can debate me and tell me that Randy Orton is not one of the best in the world, and they'll have a hard time winning that argument. People are so sensitive right now, but that's the whole tone and tenor of social media. And you know what? He's complete. Like, JR can say Disco Inferno is his favorite wrestler of all time, like the best wrestler of all. It's perfectly up to him. I get that, it's a bit annoying that it wasn't a company line toad, and it's like, oh, well, should it have been like kayfabe AEW style? Oh, obviously it's Kenny Omega to, do some promotion stuff. But if he's just being asked, like, who's the best wrestler in the world, and he says another wrestler, you can go, interesting. Well, I think it's this guy. And then you go, oh, okay, that's it. That's as far as it needs to go. That's it. But I do understand why the company, might be a bit upset that he's chosen an active WWE wrestler against an active AEW guy.
You can't help but feel that to a lot of people, sort of JR's already on the back foot in AEW because of a few things that have been said, a few calls that he's made. So with so many people, unfortunately, they're just kind of they're waiting for JR to slip and do something. I'm not saying that they're hunting it out, but when you're so burned out with somebody, like you're less forgiving of the little things. Yeah. And I think with so many with JR, for a lot of people, like they're so burned out on him. The moment he said, "Oh, Randy Orton's the best wrestler," it's like, "Oh, here we go again." JR dissing AEW again. To a lot of people, that is the case.
AEW. That's the thing. It's like
but people have read into
I know,
that.
But it's still, it's like asking, somebody who's the best band in the world. Everybody has a different answer. Everybody has a different answer. It's just one of those things. But then again, he's part of the show. Should it have been? There's all the arguments for and against, but ultimately, it's his call, and he's right. He signed these guys. He worked with them for years. He saw them evolve from trainees to where they are now. So, if he wants to say it's Randy Orton, it's Randy Orton, guys.
Randy Orton, of course, was from that amazing
it's not
pool
like
of
carving
talent.
it into like stone tablets. Like this is it. JR's like, I decree that Randy Orton is the greatest of all time. No,
also stop doing dives. You all look silly.
It's just I don't know.
Randy Orton was from that. Absolutely, and you'll die trying. But so many people are from that amazing talent pool that Randy Orton came from. Like at the same run in OVW, had guys like Randy Orton, Shelton Benjamin, John Cena, and the next guy we're going to finish on, Brock Lesnar.
What a seg! What a seg!
Broccoli Lesnar has been talked about once more, conspicuous by his absence since dropping the WWE title to Drew McIntyre. Not a fan of performing in front of nobody. Paul Heyman was on Sports Talk 790 in Houston and was asked about a potential return for Brock Lesnar to the WWE. And he says, asking me about Brock Lesnar is a highly intelligent question, and I commend you on your efforts. However, it's hypothetical. Brock Lesnar does what Brock Lesnar wants to do. If Brock Lesnar wanted to be back in WWE at this moment, at this particular time and place, he would be. Maybe he's been waiting for the live events, and maybe he'll choose Houston to make that return. Or maybe not, because Brock Lesnar is going to do whatever Brock Lesnar wants to do. Heyman heavily hinting that a Brock Lesnar return is on the cards. Some people may see this as Heyman being Heyman, but with crowds back, and I know that Brock Lesnar's contract has since expired and he's a free agent, but we've seen this happen before. WWE will forever see Brock Lesnar as a draw. And I can't help but feel he'll be back.
The thing is, Lesnar, if he's coming back anywhere, it just feels right that he'd come back to WWE. His entire career has been, professional wrestling anyway, has been there. So it just makes sense, the audience knows who he is, he's established. But I think a good thing is, the fact that if he's not happy performing in front of nobody and stuff like that, and he's gone away for now and he's going to come back later, that's good, because it means, Lesnar's less apathetic on screen if he doesn't really want to be there. He's not present, so people just kind of start to just let those awful memories they have just slip away. And then maybe, even if we leave it till next year or, whatever happens, when Lesnar returns, they can frame it in a completely different way. They might be able to get people to cheer him. They might be able to do it depending on how they go with it.
Maybe in the comment section we should celebrate Brock Lesnar.
In the comment section, I'm currently getting destroyed for what I just said.
Well, let's help that. Let's help the algorithm there. Comment below with your favourite Brock Lesnar move that isn't the F5.
I'll heart my favourite one.
I have a funny feeling we're going to do suddenly really well in Germany. I don't know why. See what the comments say. Have a great bank holiday weekend. Stay safe. Love you. Bye.
Tatty bye.